Twist and Shout Middle School is tough enough without having to deal with bullies. Rusty and Butch, who might have said it was their parents' fault, picked on the good 7th graders at school. The girls avoided them, and the boys were skittish around them. Bob and Brenda Miller were 2 of the nicest 7th graders, but they were also 2 of the heaviest. They didn't eat junk food. It was just some sort of genetic condition. They were actually popular, because their classmates showed them respect and understanding for their condition. Bob and Brenda even tutored some of their classmates, because they were advanced math prodigies. No one made fun of them, except for Rusty and Butch. It was autumn and the beginning of a new school year in Berkeley, California, where the preteens hung out at the recreational center. The center had a multi-purpose gym, with a stage for plays and musical entertainment. There was a pool table, 2 ping-pong tables, a room with large cushions for tumbling, and a small library. The center also had a 30-foot climbing wall, with rubber rocks and a heavily padded floor made of colorful cushions you would bounce off of if you fell. However, the center was old and in need of some repairs, especially to the large lights with metal screens that illuminated the floor. They crackled and occasionally set off sparks. Teens were gathering this Saturday for activities and a dance. It was a themed, back to the 60s day. The youth dressed in bell-bottoms, peasant skirts and beads. After all, this was the home of Haight-Ashbury and the free speech movement. 7th grade was also the time when youth discovered their identities. That made the tumbling room attractive to a few precocious girls and boys exploring the opposite sex. But most of them limited their touching to a slow dance, usually if the girls asked the boys to dance. The only dance the boys could do was the twist, made popular by Chubby Checker. Bob and Brenda were the first to climb the wall. They were slow, but steady, making their way to the top. After 10 minutes, Butch and Rusty, impatiently waiting to go next, began teasing them. "Do you need a lift? Would you like an elevator?" They laughed, while the others looked at them scornfully. "Leave them alone. They're doing the best they can." Butch and Rusty shoved other kids aside and began climbing the wall. When they reached Bob and Brenda, they pushed them from underneath and went around them. They nearly knocked them off the wall, but Bob and Brenda held on. Suddenly, the lights crackled and sparked. A rumbling permeated the floor, and the walls, and an air raid siren wailed from outside. "What's happening?" said Butch. "It's nothing," said Rusty. "Help!" said several of the kids. "Hold on, Brenda," said Bob to his sister. "I'm trying, Bob." But most kids knew that it was an earthquake, because Berkeley was located on a major fault line. The shaking became more violent, and most of the kids were looking for safe places to shield themselves from falling objects. Then the lights crackled loudly, and the sparks became small flames. The lights went out, and everyone was in the dark. The kids on the climbing wall held on tightly. Screaming increased exponentially. Butch fell to the floor, safely because of the cushions, but Rusty fell on top of him, seriously injuring his arm and leg. They were both crying now in pain. Bob fell next, on top of both Butch and Rusty, compounding the situation. Finally, Brenda fell on Rusty. "Help! Help anybody!" the bullies cried. An ambulance came and took Butch and Rusty to the hospital. Bob and Brenda were fine, having the cushioning effect of the bullies and the padded floor. Order was restored, and the dance went on as planned that night. Bob and Brenda even danced with others.